But how far from reality, though, is the premise of 28 Days Later? And how protected are we from a new killer pandemic?
What if a deadly pandemic happened due to an animal-to-human transmission of a deadly virus, and it got out to the general population after a lab leak? Wouldn't that be crazy?
The disease is the same name as the lab.
And 28 days later, that virus is called Rage, and leaves the infected with a murderous desire to kill anyone they come into contact with. The infection is transmitted through chimpanzees that are experimented on, with the hope of curing rage and anger forever. This lab leak infects all of England over the course of a month. 28 Days Later is the only film we're discussing this month that's debated by horror fans on whether or not it's technically a zombie film. The infected are not dead. They are sick from a blood-borne illness, and their object is not to consume but to infect and kill. One of the most disconcerting things about the infected is that they continually vomit up excess blood, which then infects anyone who comes into contact with it. Once they are infected, you have between 10 and 20 seconds to kill the infected before they come back, where the bite usually takes a while to kill and turn the bitten. Whether or not it's technically of the zombie genre, it's undeniable that this film poured some much needed vitality into a 40-year-old genre. A decade later, World War Z would take the type of infected created by Danny Boyle and Alex Garland and use them for an actual zombie movie. In World War Z, the 10 to 20 second window became a 12-second window, but otherwise the infected were very similar. A year after the release of 28 Days Later, Robert Kirkman started the Walking Dead comic series with an incredibly similar opening. Rick Grimes, much like Jim in 28 Days Later, awakens from a coma 4 to 5 weeks after the initial outbreak. They both walk, first through a hospital, and then through an abandoned city in the hope of finding their families. Interestingly, Alex Garland has stated that his original inspiration for 28 Days Later was not the zombie film genre, but a book, The Day of the Triffids, by John Wyndham, about a killer plant that rampages through England, killing people. It was made into a movie in 1962, and is referenced in the opening to Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Fight a triffid that spits poison and kills.
I'm sure we'll get into the is 28 Days Later a zombie movie debate tonight, but I hope we can all agree that quarantining England isn't a bad idea.
What would you do with a diseased little island? They quarantined us.